Today is May the 17th. What's the greatest commandment? Let's find out together as we study Deuteronomy chapters 5 and 6. Now, we mentioned last week that Deuteronomy consists of 3 discourses, 3 speeches that Moses gives to the people of Israel. The first one, as we look back at chapters 1 to 4, covers the short history, the 40-year history of the nation of Israel, how God led them through the wilderness, how they rebelled and yet God was faithful, how God protected them from enemies and even gave them victory over enemies. Now, starting in chapter 5, if we go back to 4:44, this is the body of instruction that Moses presented to the Israelites. These are the laws, decrees, and regulations that Moses gave to the people of Israel. The second discourse is all about law. It's about what Israel needs to do. The purpose of the first discourse is that they would know that He is God. The second discourse has as its purpose that they would understand what God wants them to do. So we get into chapter 5, and immediately there is a repetition of the 10 commandments from the opening of the book of the law in Exodus chapter 20. After he lists the 10 commandments verbatim, in order, exactly as they occur in Exodus 20, he goes on and he talks about the history of what happened when they received the 10 commandments, how they actually saw God on the mountaintop speaking to Moses. Moses ends in verse 32, so you've got to be careful to obey all of these laws. Now, all of the summary of the law can be reduced to the 10 commandments, and it seems like the Lord now in chapter 6 says, okay, if you have trouble understanding, obeying the 10 commandments, let's reduce it to 1. Starting in verse 3, listen carefully, Israel. Be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you'll have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Here it is. Listen, O Israel. The Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Now, Moses goes on. He says, repeat these laws again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you're going to bed, when you're getting up. Because of that, from that day on, Israelites would repeat what they call the Shema. Verse 4, listen, O Israel, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, O Israel, the Lord, our God, the Lord, one. And you must love the Lord. It's interesting what he says, how to love the Lord. Love the Lord with all your heart. That, for the Israelites, was the center of thought. Your thought didn't happen up here, it happened here. So love the Lord with your mind. Love him with, then he says, all your soul, all your nephesh, all of that within you which looks to God. Love God. And then he finishes with a very unusual phrase. Love the Lord your God with all your, the translation is strength. That's not actually what it says. Bekol meodka is what it says in Hebrew. Me'oth is a Hebrew particle that means very much. It's actually an adverb. What Moses says is love the Lord with your mind, love him with your spirit, love him with your very much. Love him with all that you are. Love him with all that you have. What's the greatest commandment? If you can't remember the 10, remember the one. Love God. If you love God truly, that's enough. Now Moses goes on. We come to verse 20, and he kind of summarizes this first part of his speech. In the future, your children will ask you, what's the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that the Lord our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. The Lord did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land that he had sworn to give our ancestors. And the Lord our God commanded us to obey all these decrees. He taught us to fear him so he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives as he has done to this day. For we'll be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands the Lord our God has given us. That's the meaning of the law. Obey. Learn to love God. If you do, God will bless us and we will be counted as righteous. Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you used to listen to it. Tomorrow, we'll answer the question, can we trust God